Aiden, as you're moving forward, things are happening very, very fast at Feather. And yet you're having to keep the ship. And how do you know? You've had to make decisions about school, about work. How do you make an informed decision when things are moving so quickly?
You know, there's some quote, I don't know the exact line, but the role of a leader is to make a decision with imperfect information, and so that's something you have to be able to do and go for it. It's calculated risks. You have to make trade-offs. It wouldn't be a decision if you could have everything all the time. So that's your role, is to make decisions, and you do the best you can to make the best decision for your team and for your company. But you have to take the leap, and that comes down to having confidence in the people around you, like we talked about earlier.
Byron, taking a leap must be fun in your world. Taking a leap must be a fun thing to do if you're in your shoes.
Sure. I mean, I don't know how to be anything other than a leader. That's why I've never been able to work for anybody before. So I kind of, again, that's just something I think you either have or you don't, unfortunately, I guess, for some people. But I would like to go back to what she was talking about before about failures and having it all mapped out, because I did the speech I did recently for Fresh Spark. That's what I was thinking about during that. And the fact is, I don't know how much money I would have to have in the bank before I stopped thinking that it could all be gone at any moment. And that's, I constantly think that way. And the reason I came up with the speech for Fresh Spark was because in thinking that way, I finally had to back up and say, okay, well, if money doesn't cure this, what does? And for me, I boiled it down to relationships. And those relationships can be with, a higher power. They can be with all your employees, anybody. But I'll tell you this much: when it hits the fan, if there's a huge failure, what you're going to value the most is your relationships. So kids, while you're doing all these things, I promise you, guarantee you, the most important thing is relationships. I promise.
How do you build the strongest relationships?
Easy. Do the right thing when the right thing is difficult to do. In my world, it could be money-based. A lot of times it could be, for people, I don't know, telling the truth when it's difficult to do or anything like that. But for instance, if it's money-based and you know it's the right thing to do, but it's going to cost you a lot of money, and you could kind of finagle your way out of it if you tried a little bit, I promise you have to do the right thing. If you just will do it, that's the moment that you're buying that thing called security. And if you really try to figure out what security is, true security, you're going to find out it doesn't have anything to do with money. It has to do with relationships.
Rich, when did you learn how to do the right thing?
I'm still trying, Whit. Still trying. No, I echo Byron's statement on this. Bottom line is, in the end of the day, you have to look at yourself in the mirror. You know what you did. You know what the decisions you're making. And it's not worth it to not do that. And bottom line, I tell people I do not have a good enough memory to tell lies, because I have to remember two stories. And then I have to remember who else I told the other stories to. And it just compounds like this, and I can't remember all that.
And then there's Facebook.
So, doing the right thing, I don't know when it was. It was just, my upbringing, my parents, instilled my morals, ethics, and integrity. I think that's a responsibility of our parents, and what mind I take as a parent for my kids. And because basically when they leave home, then they have to make their own decisions. And what I've constantly told them, one quick story, we were doing a partnership with a company out in Houston, and they've been in the gas industry for a very long time. And what I told them was, call every single person you know in the industry that knows myself, my partner, or my company, and ask them what they think of me. Exactly. My company and my partner. Call everybody. Because before you go into this partnership with me, I want you to know who you're partnering with. You can't do that if you don't always make the right decision. As Byron's saying, the hardest time is to make the decision when it's against the majority.
Trevor, it's been said that you don't do business with other companies, you do business with other people. How do you find the right people to do business with, or do they find you?
I think it's a combination. We've had, so a caveat off that, would tie it back to Spin Chill and our story kind of. My experience is partnering up with our manufacturers. We have a manufacturer in China and a manufacturer in Indiana. The one in China we seeked out, and they ended up being the one that was the most honest and upfront, and they're just pushing to get our business as well. And then the one in Indiana was one that kind of found us. We had been calling, looking for one, and ended up being put in contact with this guy, Art. So 74-year-old man in Indiana working out of his garage is one of our manufacturers for Spin Chill and does a phenomenal job. So that fell into our lap. So it's both. And then it's just continual talking back and forth and figuring out whether or not it's the right fit is the practice we've gone with, and it's worked for us so far.
How old is the guy in Indiana?
74.
74-year-old guy just wants to make sure that the world doesn't have to drink warm beer. Valerie, when it comes to partnerships and relationships, to echo what Byron, Rich, and Trevor have spoken about, Tone Right, the company of which you lead, is all about partnerships in the industry.
Absolutely.
You are a driving you're the face of Tone Right. You're out there talking to people all the time. But they're doing business with you, right? So you give them your word.
Yeah, we actually, for us, it's best to get out from behind our computer. We've done 2 U.S. tours, driving all over, getting out there and supporting the musicians that we work with. So it's really, really important that we support them first and foremost with their music and what they're doing, and that we share their passion for music. And in doing that, we're able to strategically position ourselves for them to be evangelists with the company. And we really have built a family or a community of Tone Right lovers. And with that, we choose to work with artists that have a good voice, like a good mission, what they're about, what they stand for. We don't want to get with maybe certain artists that don't stand for what we feel is good and supporting the community and others that are passionate about music. So for us, it's definitely extremely important that we have a very strong relationship with them.
So relationships, and this comes back to you, Aidan. When was it that people started to believe in Feather and in you and your team, and then you've had a recent turning point. You've gone from a struggle, but in a good way, fighting the good fight, and profitability and sales and momentum. How can you pinpoint these real important milestones in the company?
So a quick summary of our story. My co-founder and I were students at the University of Florida. We had this personal experience trying to meet new people. We decided that the current systems weren't good enough. We were going to start working on it. We dropped out of UF to work on it. For 18 months, we were constantly trying something, it didn't work, trying something, it didn't work, moving on, collecting feedback, but it took us over a year and a half before we finally really hit it. So, and now, as Whit said, recently we've had some success, we're profitable now, we're self-sustaining, but it took us a year and a half of experimenting, of failing, of going from idea to idea, and every idea we thought was the one, we thought we were so smart, and then we were wrong, over and over and over again. And so, that's part of the process, learn, iterate, fail, analyze why you failed and keep going. And so we definitely went through that whole roller coaster of up and down, and there were definitely points when we thought that, if this one doesn't work, maybe this is it, but we just kept pushing through it and kept learning and improving, and that comes down to, as we talked about earlier, surrounding yourself with the right people. You don't want just people who are yes men and will tell you, you did a great job. You need people who will tell you why you're making mistakes. So you need to have friends with strong moral fiber that won't just support you as you make bad decisions. And Whit was a great advisor to us early on, telling us, he believed in us as people, but our idea was wrong at the time, and it turned out he was right a couple of times. And then,
just a couple?
So, but getting back to the original question about a specific time, There was no specific time. It was definitely this ongoing process of fail, learn, try again.
Entrepreneurs in the audience and on the panel will know that what Aiden described is often known as the pivot. Your idea morphs into something else, and there's this transformative process. Back in the day, we used to just call that perseverance. And Byron, I'm amazed that you didn't create this quote. We'll give it to somebody else. But this quote is all you. The only place where success comes before work is in the dictionary. You sure you didn't coin that phrase?
Oh, isn't that crazy?
That's you.
Do you remember my thing on relationships when I was talking about that?
So you're a hardworking guy. And yet, success doesn't always reward the hard worker.
I guess I suppose.
What's the intangible for you, a successful entrepreneur, that you can impart on us, your audience? What is it? It's got to be more than hard work and sacrifice. What is it that makes success?
Definitely some luck. The Shark Tank thing for me, it was a lot of luck. I tried to quit 3 times. I'm lucky that they didn't let me quit.
Why did you keep quitting on Shark Tank?
The first time was because when I showed up for the live audition, it was in Orlando, I got there at 11 a.m. Now let me tell you something. If you're going for a tryout for Shark Tank or American Idol or any of those things, people camp out. So 11 means you're at the end of the line, which, by the way, you can't really see a line. It's just a bunch of people. But wherever the end was, that was my spot. I was confident of that. And so I just said I was leaving at that point, and I happened to do a demonstration for a would-be customer, and a producer was walking by at that moment and saw it, pulled me to the front of the line. Next thing I know, I had the golden ticket. And the funny part was, I had pretty much decided at that moment that I didn't care. I had this bad attitude. I don't need this. My company's great. Blah, blah, blah. I'm out of here. And then when I had that golden ticket, I got in the car and I literally went down my phone list and called every single person that I thought might be interested in the fact that I had gotten that thing. And I was thinking to myself, wow, I really cared a little more than I thought I did. And then I tried to quit during the leading up to it. I think I told you this earlier. They didn't call me back one day. And in my world, telling me you're going to call and then not calling says you're sketchy. And my thing is, when I sense sketchiness, I get away from it. I would highly advise that. And by the way, when you make that decision to get away from sketchiness, watching how that other person acts during that moment, that's when you learn a lot. The relationship can grow at that moment, but you definitely have to draw the line. So I did, and they talked me back into it. And then after I made the deal with Lori, I didn't call her for weeks. I didn't call her. Everybody was asking me how it was going, and I said, it's going great. I haven't called her. And so I don't even remember what we were talking about, but I tried to quit several times during that deal.
I love the message that you give to all of us, but especially to students. Call people back. Return the email, please.
Yeah,
Just,
real simple.
I know we're not trying to sound like your moms and dads, but can you please do that? It makes the world go so much easier.
There's some quote that 80% of success is just showing up or something like that.
No question. And listen, and Byron speaks of this intangible called luck. Rich, what does luck look like in your life?
I believe luck is where preparedness meets opportunity. There's another book by Jim Collins called Great by Choice, and he talks about luck in that book also. And you have to be prepared for that opportunity that comes. And so in business, the way we look at it is we look at options. My business partner is a tournament chess player, and it's actually how he relaxes. I don't understand it. Mine's physical, his is playing tournament chess online and reading a book. But in chess, the entire goal, you want to control the chessboard. You want to control as many squares on the board as possible. So why are you doing that? Because it creates options. And the book in Great by Choice talks a lot about this piece of luck and what is luck. And you got to be in the game to have that opportunity. So we've been lucky a number of times, but it was because we were in the right place and we were ready for it.